Hey, welcome back everyone. In the last video, we have downloaded and installed the Terraform in your local. Also did the setup in VS Studio Code. In this video, we are going to learn three things Terraform is built on. First one is provider, second one is resources, third one is state. So let's get started. What are providers? So think of provider like driver. Just like your laptop need a driver to talk to a printer. Terraform need a provider to talk to your AWS, GCP or Azure cloud. Provider nothing, just the plugins that wrap up cloud APIs. You declare one into the Terraform block, and while you run the Terraform init command, it handle all the API call. I have given the example. I have write the Terraform block. Inside that, I have write the required provider. Inside that, we have a AWS, which is our provider, which fetch from the source equals to /AWS, and version will be 5.0. So I will explain the version in the next slide. We have 1 billion plus AWS provider download, and for the GCP we have a 200 million plus download. Same for the Kubernetes and same for the GitHub, means 500 and the 100 million download. There are 3000 plus provider in the Terraform registry itself. One provider block means Terraform known how to talk to the entire cloud platform. If you want to create S3 bucket, want to create EC2, EKS or anything, you just give the provider and Terraform will talk to the entire cloud platform itself. Let's go into the next slide. Provider version, why they matter. If you mention in your Terraform version equals to 5.0.0, it means it will download exact version 5.0.0. If you mention version greater than equals to 5.0, it download 5.0 or anything above of it. If you mention version equals to with tilde symbol and greater than 5.0, it means it will download 5.x but never jump to 6. This is what you use in production. If you mention the version equals to greater than equals to 4.0 or less than 6.0, it will download the version between 4.0 and 6.0. While you run the Terraform init command, it read the provider block and download the exact version and store the same version in .terraform folder. Always use this version. I have given the always use, which log the measure version, allow patch update as well. Okay, next is what are resources. Resources are the actual thing you create in the cloud, like VPC, EC2, S3, RDS, GKE cluster, etc. Each one is a resource block in your code. So how to write the resource block? You have to give the resource keyword, and resource has the two thing. One is a type and second one is a name. Type is AWS S3 bucket that comes from the AWS provider itself. Name is whatever you call it, like my bucket I have given there. You can give demo, prod bucket, etc. You use that name to reference it later. Next is we have attributes. I have given the attribute bucket, which is required attribute, which is and give the name Python DevOps demo. You can give any name. And then we have a tag block. I will explain it later. We have common resources like AWS underscore VPC, same AWS instance, AWS S3 bucket, AWS EKS cluster. You have to give the prefix. I have given the tips here. AWS underscore prefix. Like for the bucket, S3 bucket, VPC, you can give the VPC instance. You can go into the official documentation. You can check also from there. In case of Google, you have to give the Google and then the prefix after underscore. Provider give you the resources. Next is resource dependency. So while you create the multiple resource, you got the resource dependency. I have given the example, like we are creating the first VPC. So give the resource, then we have a type AWS VPC, and then we give the name. I give the name main. You can give the prod, dev, or any application you are using. You can give that name. And then I give the mandatory or the required attribute, which is CIDR block, which is 10.0.0/16. And this VPC is using into the subnet. Means this subnet has the dependency to get the VPC ID. For the VPC ID, you have to fetch this value from this resource block. So how do you fetch? AWS underscore VPC dot man, and then you have to give the dot ID. So that's how you create the subnet. How to create it? You have to give the resource, then AWS subnet, then give any name, and inside that you have to pass the VPC ID. So this is the dependency you got from one resource to the another. So what is the syntax for fetching the dependency? You have to give the resource type. Resource type is AWS VPC, and then you have to give the resource name. Here is the main, same is the main, and then you have to give the attribute. Attribute could be the name or the ID. So we have to fetch the VPC ID. So I pass the ID. You have to fetch the name, then you have to give the dot name over there. So in case of subnet, you have to give the ID. So this is the resource dependency. Next is what is state. State is Terraform memory. It is a file that track everything. Terraform has built it. So I've given the three different scenario. First apply, second apply, and third apply while you change the code. In first apply, let's say we have a bucket, S3 bucket, and we are creating via run the Terraform apply command. So first time Terraform state file is empty. While you run the apply command, it has some codes in the state file. Next time you did not do any changes, same code as it is, and you run the second apply. So Terraform literally print the no changes over there. So what happened behind the scene? HCL matches your state file and the actual resource in your AWS cloud, and it found out that there is no change in the code. So it print in the state file that no changes. In case of third time you did some changes in your code, let's say you have created the bucket which is you already created, but you added the tag. So while you run the Terraform apply command, so it will not create the another bucket, it will add the tag in your existing bucket. So there I have mentioned the pro tip that never manually edit the Terraform state file, always let Terraform manage it. Next is inside terraform.tfstate. So it's a JSON file. Let's look at what actually in it. So first is the version into the JSON format. So version is whatever the state file format, so that will be the version. Next is the resource. So resources are the only those resources which is created or managed by the Terraform itself. So it has a type is the AWS S3 bucket, and name is my bucket, and we have a type plus name matches your instances. It has all the attribute like bucket name, bucket ARN, and bucket ID, all the things. So in production, always store a state file remotely in S3, GCS, or the blob in case of Azure. So never edit manually and keep it secure always, and never commit to the Git itself. It can contain sensitive value. We will cover remote state properly in the module episode. Next is local versus remote state. So there are two ways while you run the Terraform. So you can store your state file in your local or in your remote. So if you set up the remote, the state file is stored into the S3, GCS, or the blob storage in case of your cloud. If you did not set up basically the remote, then it will save your laptop only. So in that case, you cannot share with your team, or you have to do the manually. But if you set up the remote, it will automatically share via the team itself. If you set up some locking method in case of a remote, so state locking in your DynamoDB in case of AWS. In case of local state, there is no locking method, so you can run the multiple time your Terraform files. If you lose the laptop, you will lose the state file. If you survive the laptop death, but remote state file is already in your S3 bucket there. Fine for learning only, required for the production, dev, or other environment as well. So it one is the recommend one. We will set up remote state with S3 in upcoming sessions. So here is the quick recaps. So we learn three things: provider, resources, state. Provider are the plugin that let Terraform talk to your cloud API. If you declare the provider, then you run the Terraform in it, and it will download all the API calls. Next one is resources. Resources are the actual thing you create in your AWS itself or any other cloud platform like VPC, EC2, AKS, GKE, etc. Reference other resources by name. Terraform handle according to your order. Next one is state. State is the Terraform memory. So this is all about in this video. Next video we will learn variable and output, but before that we will do some coding and do the practical demo. Drop a like, subscribe, GitHub link in the description. See you in the next video. Thank you.